Behind the Screens, these nights with SamJ Studios. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you,
Hello.
Sam.
Hey.
And we have David from KnownOrigin, who's going to give us a quick intro about the platform and about the Behind the Screen series. David, after you.
Thank you, Serena. So, hi, everyone. I'm David Moore. I'm one of the co-founders of KnownOrigin, which is a digital arts platform built on the Ethereum blockchain. And tonight on Behind the Screens, we have SamJ Studio. I'm fascinated by this artist. I first saw some pieces drop that were a mix of kind of 3D, fashion, identity, and I was just super curious to learn more about SamJ Studios. So I'm going to be watching with anticipation to learn more about this artist because I know very little. I'm super excited to kind of understand kind of the process, the inspirations, and kind of how this artist creates the pieces. So without further ado, I will hand over to Serena. But before I go, feel free to send any kind of questions via YouTube or on Twitter to KnownOrigin_.io. And thanks again for joining us, Sam. And you're always awesome, Serena. So I shall leave you to do your thing. I'm going to enjoy this behind the screens because, again, it's an artist I don't know much about. So thank you for your time, and I'll see you soon. I'll see you on the live.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction.
Here we are. Thank you so much, David. We'll see you soon. Here we are. So, good evening. How are you, Sam?
I'm good. What's up?
Yeah, great. No, it's very good to see you, and I'm so curious to dive into this behind the screens talk with you because, as David announced, we've been so fascinating about your work, and I think the audience as well watching tonight would have lots of questions. So please feel free to send them through. This is going to be a very friendly conversation about Sam's art, and we would love to receive your comments, questions as we go through this live chat. So I would love to kick off this live by asking you what fascinates you about crypto art and fashion.
Oh, well, I don't know. It was kind of like two separate passions I had that I kind of just forced together. I initially wasn't doing anything with fashion and crypto, but of course, for the past year or so since I graduated art school and stuff, I've been trying to experiment with how I can incorporate my fashion into my art. And once I saw how open-ended you can make art with crypto and NFTs and all of that, I thought it was the perfect opportunity to like try to shove my ideas of fashion into the work that I was making. And I'm really glad that it was well received and people are excited about it. And it just makes me more motivated to continue. And I definitely think it's a unique position to be in because the fashion industry is very elitist oftentimes. And, now it's a little bit more DIY almost, and, with streetwear and stuff like that. But being able to like produce my own content and my own way and have a direct to consumer model, I guess, and not have to work with like specific brands or, magazines or any of the industry workarounds. It's really a privilege.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I believe, especially around this time, you can sort of self-manage the content and production of what you do. So just to give some background story to everyone, Sam has been creating some very interesting top, would you call them, or t-shirt, or how would you, with animated content that becomes visible while you're wearing them. So I just wanted to ask you, how did you create them and what kind of technology did you apply? And then we can start showing some of the designs that you have created.
Of course. So initially I came up with the idea through my sort of previous experiments with projection mapping of like having a blank shirt and then putting something moving on it, kind of like the Harry Potter newspapers where there's like the moving images. So just I had a lot of different ideas to put it together, and then around this time last year, a really crazy addition or plugin for After Effects, which is the program I use to animate. This plugin came out for After Effects called Lockdown, and basically it just allows you to track any type of graphic or anything you really need onto like skin or fabric or multi-dimensional organic objects. And that was a huge development. And so I kind of just used that. And during quarantine, the first few months of isolation, like I think it was May through June, the plugin went free as like a community service. They were really kind enough to let people use it for free just to experiment during quarantine. And so I finally was like, this is it. Like I have time, I'm at home, I have plenty of blank t-shirts. So I'm gonna definitely like try to use this plugin and take some of the designs and the work that I am inspired by, and I've been working on just like on pencil and paper, or as like a print medium, and bring them to life on a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna start showing some of the work because I think it will be great to give some context to
what it's probably
we are
really
describing here.
Without,
yeah, absolutely. So I'm just gonna share screen now, and I will show you some work that is being created on t-shirts. Can you see my screen, Sam?
Yes.
Wonderful. So I'm just playing this one. Can you tell us a bit about this design and how did you come up with this idea and composition?
Yeah. So my background, a little bit about my background is I studied graphic design in college, and I graduated in December, so about a year ago. And so all of my work is very influenced from that. So it's like very flat, very graphic, I guess, obviously. But I'm very inspired by like this sort of childhood nostalgia. So in terms of aesthetics, at least, I like to use, sort of primary colors in a way, and really primitive shapes. And one of my biggest references, I would say, is like Legos, which seems kind of odd, but I always think about like Legos or like playgrounds or just like theme parks, and these really sort of like childish things that as an adult you're kind of embarrassed to say, like, oh my, like I'm in, like, actually, okay, maybe you can't see it, but this little red thing here, it's a big Lego roller coaster, and it's like the epitome of the aesthetic that I go for. So it's like even the shapes of roller coasters, I think it's like, I don't know, they're very weird and blobby. But yeah, so I mean, to me, the initial idea was sort of like staircases and slides, and then which you can kind of see with like the red and the green part, and then I just sort of build off of the initial couple shapes based on the composition. So there's not so much reference really, and it's really just non-objective. So similar to work from like Majevic or Elizitsky or Mondrian in that sense.
Mm-hmm. I'm just going to show some other work that you've created. So this one is very different. You're using some fonts and letters. And can you tell us a bit about this kind of design and the feeling and mood that you were into when creating this one?
Yeah, so the design I did myself was actually the one with like the colors and the playground and all that. That was my most recent animated t-shirt I've done. But the first two, this one is a sort of parody almost of a Valentino shirt. And the one I did prior was a remake of a Louis Vuitton shirt. And so it was kind of a statement on what makes a t-shirt cool, and like why do we invest in brands when it's just like a graphic. I've never really understood the idea of getting like designer t-shirts. I love designer clothes and participating in high fashion and all of that, but I think what draws me to clothing and what interests me about it is the like different silhouettes and all that. So a t-shirt, like especially if you think about like really popular hype brands like Off-White or Supreme, where shirts and hoodies are going for thousands of dollars, and it's just a white t-shirt with a logo on it. So I wanted to kind of show that you can do it yourself, and it's just a shirt, and like it's not necessarily anything that serious, I guess. But and then obviously it's very clickbaity. So of course it's a good idea for social media, you know, even though it's sort of against this hype beast culture, it also that's the target audience in a sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a brilliant idea. And did you ever take it, you know, outside of social media, or did you do any, you know, exhibition or presentation showing the actual wearables? I don't know how you would call them, if those are kind of like animated wearables, or if you use an app.
Yeah, so that's the difficult thing, I guess you could say, is like, because it's all it's essentially just like VFX, so you know, post-production work, and that's not, it's a bit difficult to present that. You know, you don't go see a Marvel movie just to see the green screen. You know, there's so much of that world that's built up and for the context of a screen. So but that's what I've really appreciated about NFTs and crypto art, is it's provided a bit more artistic context for these pieces. So the animated t-shirts are something I just developed for social media, because I was like, oh, where else can it go? You know, it's on a screen, it's an animated shirt. But now with NFTs and all the different ways people are implementing them and viewing them, and it, I think, provides a lot more of a artistic background where people expect it to be artsy and they want to know about the concept, and it doesn't have to just be like some social media clickbait or viral focused idea. It can be a bit more in depth, and you can present it in that way.
And also you made these pieces, one of these pieces, available as an NFT, as you were saying. So you know, my question, I think, you know, was sort of like hinting towards how, if you were going to do like a fashion show or something as such, that in a way you could do it on an NFT, for example, and still make that a limited edition collection. So I just wanted to somehow talk about that element, because as you said, it's interesting to see how those things that live normally on social media, or content that is generally created to be consumed through a screen, can actually be something unique or become an addition. So that's interesting to have you as part of the NFT, and to have the top that you've created and that design also being part of it. So do you know anybody else that's done something similar, or do you feel like that you are sort of developing a brand within a brand, creating these clips and making them into NFTs?
Yeah, in terms of making them into NFTs, there's another brand here, actually based in Amsterdam as well, called The Fabricant, and they do a lot of digital fashion. And I actually feature them in my magazine, which is also as an NFT available. But they do it in a little bit of a different way. They really present fashion digitally by rendering it in 3D, and it's like completely digital. Whereas what inspires me to work in fashion is how you interact with it as a person, and then it's more about the digital presentation of the like real life fashion. So in that sense, I think I'm not aware of anyone else doing it, but I know there's probably a lot of people pushing forward this sort of fashion and technology hybrid. And I think it's just a matter of, you know, who wants to do it, really. Like, the technology is so accessible at this point. It depends on how you want to approach it. So I I guess the answer, it's like kind of a hard question to answer.
No, yeah, absolutely. I think, it's more like an ongoing conversation, I suppose it is a very challenging times, and most events have been cancelled or postponed. So finding a way to still enjoy fashion and use technology to create something unique and enjoyable, not just for yourself as an artist, but also to be shared with your audience. I think it's interesting and creates that form of engagement and connection. So I would love now to share this work, which is the one that you've tokenized. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, this one is on KnownOrigin.
So I'm just about to play this clip, and I'll just give it a few seconds to load. And yes, how did you come up with this concept? And I see you've also created a background. Did you work that on a green screen? And what was the concept behind? Because I see you do several, you come back onto the screen and then it's repetitive. And I just wanted to know what's the background story for this work?
Yeah, of course. So the first few approaches I took to minting fashion in this way, I guess, was very like singular, and it really only presented like it was like very static, I guess. So I wanted to see how I don't know, like how much further I could go. And so I kind of was like doing a little bit of research, looking at how high fashion has been presented during quarantine and certain fashion videos. And I realized that I could probably, recreate a lot of the in-person shows that were turned into like fashion films. Or I guess, yeah, so a lot of brands and like fashion houses basically were shooting runway, like a normal runway, but then presenting it as like a fashion film, as a video, because, obviously there would be no audience. So I just realized like, oh, I could probably do that in a unique way as well. Like I have all of the capabilities. And so, yeah, I just threw together an even bigger green screen than before. And I've always been a fan of like capsule style wardrobes, which means you have a few pieces and you can sort of mix and match them all together. And yeah, I don't know, like rewear things in different ways. So like, for example, this on screen now, the skirt, I guess, is actually just a really big oversized blazer that I tied around my waist and then buttoned at the bottom. And so this is all kind of an exploration of like gender neutral fashion and sustainable fashion, because most of these pieces are either handmade or secondhand, and also just like gender and how gender can play on fashion. And yeah, I mean, it's just a little bit of everything that I do as an artist into one piece. So it's kind of like, it's such a broad concept. It's hard to like really pinpoint down into one thing.
Totally. No, I understand. And it's beautiful because you've touched on so many different points like sustainability, hence sustainable fashion, and working across different fields and combining technology to sort of glue all of these disciplines together. And I'm glad that the crypto art space is actually providing support, for artists and also the community that is into fashion, is into art, and still wants to be part of everything, that we're missing from living outside in the world. So I think your discipline is really, is touching on so many different aspects of the life that we feel like we're missing. There's a form of like missing out of, all of the fashion shows and the art shows that you used to go on a regular basis maybe. And it's interesting as well, because especially now during quarantine, we focus most of all on the fact that there's a pandemic going on, but at the same time, also the world is facing, rising temperature. And so fashion is one of the industries that has definitely, made an impact towards that. And I think with your piece, you combine those elements in a very balanced way, allowing technology to support you doing that. So I think it's very fascinating to see that.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it. I'm just gonna grab this piece and maybe just let it load for a few seconds. Yes, I can come back on screen with you. Here we go.
Yeah, I guess how you phrased it, I don't know exactly what you said really, but I guess using technology to support my idea. I don't know. I think of technology as almost like an art supply, not necessarily like, I don't know how else you would see technology, but yeah, I mean, I think I look at my computer and what I can do on the computer as like an art supply, as a technique, really. So for the fashion show, I'm thinking, how can I put together a fashion show? And if maybe I was really good at like woodworking, I would build a stage or something, and like I would I don't know, do anything, just combine my ideas in some way, in whatever way is like accessible to me. So I think technology is just like a great way to support my ideas and kind of mash them all together.
Yeah, no, I think what you described, it worked definitely very well for you, and it allows you to reach out to the audience and to express your concepts and your artistic creations, in a way that it feels organic, and it feels that the fact that you can also collect it, it's wonderful, because it makes you be part of your creation in a way. So
yeah, it's kind of exciting that so many people are eager to collect my pieces. It's a bit like shocking still that I have people willing to invest and support me.
No, yes, absolutely. I think it's wonderful to see that kind of support. There's Brian here watching live, who's asking a question to you, if you're happy to answer this one. So hello, Sam, love your work. Question: what are some of the current barriers to entry you see in the NFT space, and what do you feel the largest opportunities and value adds exit with NFTs?
I don't think there's any barrier. If I had to say there's a barrier, it would have to be marketing, because I started on Rarible, and I applied to a few sites and I was waiting around, but I figured like, I'm just going to start minting stuff in the meantime and see what happens. Like I'm excited about this and I just learned about it. So I'm just going to start and, post on these other websites and mint on these other websites, like KnownOrigin, when I get the chance, if I get the chance, and see what happens. And especially with Rarible, you don't have to apply to get on, and you can just post your work, which I think is great. But there's no form of marketing, or they don't have live streams like this or anything like that. And so luckily, I found a lot of success on Twitter and in Discord and Telegram. And really, like the first 2 weeks, I spent just, talking to people and getting to know people and understanding the scene. And it was less about the art and more about, the communication with people. And so, and from the people the other artists I talked to as well, that's something that they struggle with, is like the marketing side of things, because there is so many artists, and finding your own little niche and support group can be difficult. But I think I was very lucky that before crypto art, I was already a full-time artist. So I had a decent following on like of a couple hundred followers on my Twitter and Instagram already that, you know, knew my work and knew what I did. But I was working as a freelance designer, so not quite a full-time artist in the same sense, but in the sense of, yeah, being able to share your work and post it anywhere, I don't think there is any barrier at all. It's just a matter of how you move it around and who you show it to and who you meet. So, and I maybe before it even gets to that step, I would say like education. I was very lucky that I was able to go to college for design, and I was studying design in high school before that. But I've seen a lot of artists that started because they saw crypto art, and I think that's really awesome that there's a whole new generation of artists and starting to, you know, indulge in their creativity because of this. But there's so much to learn, and like even now I only learned how to do 3D this year. I took an online class after I graduated college, so like I'm still learning. I only set up a green screen like 2 weeks ago, so but I'm lucky enough to have like a solid foundation. Like I knew how to green screen, I just didn't have one. So it's I think that would definitely be the biggest barrier of entry in a sense. But and
in terms of opportunities or values?
Yeah, I have no idea. This is such a big like I don't know, a big thing for artists that I feel like it's still very young. It's in its infancy. So I'm very excited to be partaking in it. So then, you know, when amazing things happen, I can be there and be ready for it. But I think definitely having a market to sell digital art, that's something that's very unique. Like before NFTs, I was developing a lot of these creative pieces just in a way to hopefully like market myself to clients. And I would do something just to post on Instagram to kind of develop my brand. So then when a client would come to me to hire me for their project, they would see what I do and hopefully hire me for something that I like to do because I did it on my own and I posted it on Instagram. And, you know, that's how it works. So all through college and like the past few years, I've always been in this thought process of like, how can I make stuff for other people, but that's still something I want to do? Or how can I make other people want me to make something cool that I want to do? And now because of NFT art and being able to sell my art digitally, there's really no need for that anymore. I found a good group of people, and the crypto art community is very open, and I can just make what I want and people will buy it straight away. Like I don't need to get commission for it or, you know, freelance and work with the client or another brand or anything like that. I can just work for myself and sell directly to the consumers. So it's very liberating for me, and I'm sure plenty of other artists as well.
And how did you discover the crypto art scene? Is that something you've been involved in you know, in a while, or is it kind of like a recent discovery? Because you said a couple of weeks you've been having a green screen. So I just want to know how long we're talking about.
So I've known about cryptocurrency for like a really long time, and I sort of was buying and selling a little bit through college, so around like 2016 to 2019. And then when I graduated, I like sold everything. I was like, all right, I'm done trading. I'm just gonna, you know, take what I earned and like use that to fund my start of my career in freelance and like cover my bills for a couple months. And so I was always like aware that cryptocurrency existed, but only in like maybe July and August, I was seeing artists on Twitter selling their work for cryptocurrency, and I thought that was very interesting. And then finally in September, I was like, all right, I really have to get in this. Like I know how cryptocurrency works. Like if you don't get in it early or like right away as soon as possible, it's not gonna get any worse or like go get any smaller, I guess. So like jump in it as soon as you can. Like stop just like watching from the sidelines, because
Mm-hmm.
especially like when I was buying Bitcoin at the end of 2016, that whole year, like when it peaked at what was like $20,000, like I know that this stuff can get really like big really, really quickly and like explode for the people who are involved in it. So I started minting work at the end of September.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So it's been, it's been pretty recent in terms of making an entrance as an artist in the space. Wow, I didn't realize that. And what's your feeling about the community, and how did you get to build that? Because you said you spent a bit of time doing marketing, but also talking about your work with people within the space. And I guess my question is sort of leaning towards understanding how much marketing and being present within the community is important for an artist compared to the amount of time research you spend in creating the work. How do you balance the two?
I think marketing is probably like the most important part about being an artist. Ironically, like I think you could be a decent mediocre artist, and as long as you are like friends with a lot of people and people want to buy your work, like you don't have to be a good artist for people to want to buy your stuff. For example, if you look at all of the collabs that people are doing with Pranksy on Rarible, he's not making any of it, but like he has this big reputation and he's helping market artists in that way. And like, yeah, I mean, just things like that, you have to be very clever about and know like what, yeah, I don't know, like where you should invest your time and who's like fun to meet. It's not that serious, really. It's not, but like, I just like to meet new people. I think everybody in the crypto art scene is very, very interesting and a lot of unique personalities for sure.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
And yeah, I don't know. It's just being around, being active. Like it for me personally, my art has helped me like market in a way because it's kind of new and something that people haven't seen before. It helps people talk about it. So it's easier for me to market in that sense. But compared to if I was just doing like a digital painting or something like that, people have kind of maybe seen that before. So marketing, even then, marketing would be more important. But in terms of balancing it, that's something I'm still kind of figuring out. Like I said, I've only been doing this for a couple of weeks. So the past week or so, I've been, I really like pushed myself for this latest piece with the runway that I put on KnownOrigin. And then afterwards, I was like, oh man, like, I don't know what to do next. Like for the last couple of projects, I've been just going like up and up and up and like seeing how far I could push one idea. So after that, I was like, how am I going to top this? Like, what's going on? So I just kind of took a couple of days, like, I'm going to get off Twitter, like just take a break, see like how I can sustainably, maintain this creative energy. Because crypto art is very exciting, but it's hard to be 100% excited 100% of the time. But yeah, I don't know how to balance it. I think for me personally, it's kind of like, I don't know, whenever I get a good idea, I'm very motivated and I like can't stop until I'm completely like done with the idea. I'll work like all day until like 2 a.m. And then as soon as it's done, I'm like, phew, okay, now I can just sit alone. Like I'll post it on Twitter and, share it around and just like sit for a couple days and like just share it with people, talk to people again. And that's kind of the fun part, is just like sitting on Twitter and Discord and talking to people and having fun and just, hanging out online. And then, so it's a little bit of like half and half, I guess.
No, I think this is a very great bit of advice also for new joiners, into this space. And I think what you shared here is a good overview of what is currently happening and how probably is best to balance, your practice and your presence online. So I think it's kind of like a new course of looking at art, creative path, within the space of digital. So that's interesting also to see how this has been shifting. Artists has been normally in that studio for quite a long time, and then there's a gallery or an agent that puts up that work, and this gets seen, and that's critic around the work and publicity, and now everything happens in the span of like 2 days. That could be
yeah.
everything happening over like a weekend.
Right.
Or even like in 24 hours. So I think in the last 6 months, we've seen such a shift towards new ways of building your presence online.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like learning it from afresh. So everything is new, and I think everyone is sort of making that way and discovering ways of capturing the attention, but also building your identity and create your personality and develop that within the feedback of others, embed that within your practice. So yeah, I think what you described is very fascinating, and I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah, it's also really interesting as well, like, because you mentioned, incorporating how people provide feedback to you. It's all instant. So like, it's interesting to take all this instant feedback as an artist and try to like listen, but still be authentic in your art, because in the long run, people do value your own voice as an artist, and people like to be able to see the like story in the art, even if there isn't necessarily like a super deep concept. They're just like, oh, this was really cool because like this was the first piece he did with a green screen, and it like you can see he like, this was the start of all of these other pieces. And so even though it's just this one thing, it's actually like has a lot more meaning in the context of like your body as a body of work as a whole, as an artist. And so people do want to know who you are and like what you do, like why you do the things you do as an artist. And so but you also want to be able to take feedback and make your art better for the people who want to support you. So that's a very difficult balance as well, I think, more so than even like figuring out how to market yourself. It's like figuring out how to like capitalize on your audience, but still not like completely sell out. So
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think I understand well what you're saying. It's interesting to see also how that impact the way you think, because there isn't a mediator, between you and your audience. You are directly in contact with people that follow you and ask you a question like, tonight. So it's interesting to see how that became super, intimate in a way, That's interesting. Yes. I have another question for you, Sam, and then I think we can show some other work that you've created, like the projections work. I would love to know what inspires you these days to create. If there's a topic, a subject, or an artist, or a philosophy, anything that sort of takes your attention and you use it to create work.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of like what I said before about like childhood nostalgia and like being very playful with my work. That's like my main motivation, I guess. Like I never want to be like super serious. I don't want to be like, oh, this blue streak means like symbolizes the sadness I felt because I was quarantined. Like that's totally valid. And that's like, I think I love to read about that kind of stuff in like art history and find all that deep meaning. But for me, like I spent so many years studying like design where they're like, oh, this font has like this tiny little curve, which makes it like you see it in a totally different light. I think that's like, I'm so tired of that. So for at least for now, a lot of my work is very like bright and colorful and playful. And it's like, it just looks fun. Like it looks cool. I like it. I don't know. It's like, it's not super conceptual in a way. And like, I just incorporate what I like. And so in terms of the piece on KnownOrigin, like it is a bit more serious in the sense that like the fashion itself is kind of like doom and gloom. It's very like black and white, and but I still wanted to like make it kind of like embrace the digital element. I kind of like referenced Tron with like having light streaks and like it was rainbow, and it really like it's definitely one of my more serious pieces. But like I kind of noticed that, and moving forward, I was like, I should figure out how to make this like more fun because like this is so intense. But yeah, so definitely like I don't know. As a kid, I would always watch like cartoons and like for example, Phineas and Ferb. They're just always making stuff like I don't know, like winter in summer, and like they would, I don't know, throw a beach party in their backyard. And like as a kid,
Yeah.
I remember like in second grade, or we were like 7 years old, sitting at the desk, and it's like write what you would want in your dream bedroom, and you'd be like, I want a water slide from my bedroom to my backyard, and I land on a trampoline, and like all that like really crazy fun stuff. That's like, I guess that's the emotions I want to evoke, at least for myself, when I'm making art, just to feel playful and have fun. And I think that reflects in a way in how my audience and how people see it. And but also as a kid, I was really into like engineering and technology. And I don't know if you're familiar with the show Mythbusters, but it's essentially like some special effects artists and engineers like just did a bunch of silly stuff. And that was like a really big inspiration of creativity for me. Like that was the main, or like the first time I was like, I want to make something, like I want to be creative and have fun. So I'm always looking for new techniques also in that sense. So things like green screening, or like practical effects, like working with resin and epoxy, if I can do something with that. Like I'm always experimenting and trying new things, and like working with practical effects in that same way as like, and also learning like digitally. So the example of the hand in front of the rotating hand, like I painted that with makeup. So, and then took a video of it and put it in the background. So I was just like, oh, I want to try putting makeup on my hand, because like, I don't know, for me personally, as learning how to draw, I would always draw hands because people always complain about drawing hands. So I was like, I'm going to practice hands only, because then by the time I'm good at drawing, I'll be really good at hands and it won't be difficult. And so to me, like a hand is kind of almost like a portrait, like as you would practice drawing a face. And then I was like, I can link these things together somehow. I don't know. It's not that deep, but like, yeah, I don't know. I just like to mix.
I'm just gonna show the.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of combine like green screen with a little bit of like makeup, because from like my drag, and just, I don't know, it's just a big mixing pot of whatever I feel in the mood to try out that day. So like maybe for my next project,
Absolutely.
yeah, but I like to work with my hands as well. So that's kind of why when I said my computer is an art supply, like I always think of what I can make in person and how I can then put it into my computer in a sense. So it's like, how can I put these things together? And that's kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
That's, to be honest, you know, when I see your work, I feel happy. You know, it's playful,
that's good.
it's colorful, it's fun. It reminds me, yes, of that kind of like 1980s look and feel. And yes, there's a lot of content that I share as well. And yeah, it's weird in a way, because you also feel a sense of distortion sometimes, but at the same time is colorful, and it just makes you love it. You know, I think it's a very gut feeling emotion. So that's my personal response to the work.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to see that. I would love now, if you're happy with that, to speak about these work and the projection work, because I think in a way it's quite different from what we've seen so far. And it's probably like an evolution of what you've created with the t-shirts, with the animated t-shirts, and with the other design work that you've created. So what's the story of these projection work, and what was the concept that you developed for making this work?
Yeah, so I have always been doing a little bit of animation as a side to my design. And I don't know, I just wanted to figure out a way to bring it off of a screen, because I was so tired of like working on a screen and then you show someone on like your phone and it's very underwhelming. And I love like really making something like so like larger than life, which is, I don't know, I haven't really worked that into my NFTs quite yet. I'm still working on that. But like for this example, I wanted to make my projection like an entire experience, like almost an art installation, almost as you would see a sculpture, you know, like a really large sculpture or something like that, have that same presence. And initially, if you think of like a 2D animation, you're like, how do you make it feel like that? So with that in mind, I was like, oh, well, it will have to be in like a gallery setting and be, you know, interactive in some sort of way. Like you'd have to be able to see it. And so then I started thinking about how I could like bring it, like even if it's projected, it's still flat. It's still basically just like a big screen. So then I just researched a little bit and discovered projection mapping and just kind of like played with the concept a little bit. And I thought that using canvases, like blank canvases, would be a really good way to create like levels of animation, while also kind of playing with the idea of what we expect to see in a gallery space in a setting like that, with like canvas on a wall. So if you walk in, you just see a bunch of canvases and it almost looks like nothing. And then you turn on the projectors and then like this whole massive experience that takes up the entire wall. So you can't really tell here, but this one's just in my apartment. I did after my gallery showing. So I've done a few of these. This is just one of them. But you can tell that that's why I kind of did it several angles. But there's 4 canvases, and then I kind of do an optical illusion where I make it look like there's 2 more above it. But in person, you can see that it's just like a brick wall. But on footage, it doesn't really read that well, which is a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, no. But
So,
it's
oh, okay. Yeah, so that's kind of why this is the work I did pre-green screen. And so then I was trying to, and then to me, like green screen is almost the opposite of this. Like in this, with projecting, I took digital and made it physical. And then with green screen, I take physical and make it digital. So I just was thinking about how I can kind of create this same sort of like confusion. Like people didn't really know how I did it, even though it was like pretty simple if I just like show you the file. And that's sort of what I was attempting to create with the green screen stuff as well.
It's fascinating. And did you create these work first and then you went on to doing the green screen?
Yeah. So this projection is like I did in October of last year, but it's also minted, so it's an NFT as well.
I see.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that was super interesting to watch, and also to know how you made it, you know, how you got to create that. And what's your next project, what you're currently working on and what you would love to do in the future?
My next project, I'm not exactly sure. It's definitely going to be something green screen related. I want to like really get more into that and perfect it. And I'm excited. I shoot all of my stuff on iPhone. So I'm actually really excited for the
interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited for the iPhone 12 to come out. So I'm gonna like, that'll really up my game, because I use my 8 Plus. So it's not like super professional. So I want to like really refine the style and kind of keep doing more and interpreting it in new ways. And it's shooting with green screen, it's definitely a mix of like practical effects and ways you shoot in yourself, like moving in real life, and then how you interpret that and place that digitally. So there's like a bunch of different ways that I can interpret that. So I'm sort of playing with that idea. But in the long run, I definitely want to be making more like long form kind of fashion films, in a sense, where it's maybe like a minute or 2 minutes and there's like a bunch of looks and maybe multiple people, and like something that is more of like I don't know, it's more fantastical, I guess. Like so I want to definitely be able to work with more people and collaborate with more creatives. Especially, I'm lucky enough to live in Amsterdam, which is like a very creative city. There's like loads of people that I can network with, and
it's
that's
a great,
definitely.
yeah,
Go ahead.
creative hub. No, yeah, absolutely. I was going to say that I have quite a few friends living there, and you know, everybody feels the energy of the city, and I think it's such a creative hub. So I'd like it to be there.
Yeah, it's the nice place to like bubble up new ideas for sure. It's like very chill, very relaxed, and gives like there's very little pressure. So there's a lot of room to be like, I want to try this, or like, oh, that didn't work out, but whatever, I'll try something else tomorrow. Yeah. Whereas like it's not the vibe in other like bigger creative cities, like maybe London or Berlin, or not Berlin, London, New York.
True. Yes, I've been living in London for about 10 years, and I can definitely tell you that you feel that pressure. You're always in the spotlight.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that space where you can be creative and get to explore what you want to do and be playful. So I think it's been an interesting journey. Well, Sam, I thank you so much for these live chats with myself, MoCDA, and KnownOrigin. And I also want to thank David for introducing us to the platform and the series. I just have a very last question, because I see the work now, and I want to ask you if the work you have right behind you is work that you've made.
No, this is actually just by another artist in Amsterdam. I think he sells prints like this at posterlad.com, and he is from Prague but lives in Amsterdam. So he has a lot of really cool and very cheap prints. But yeah, if it like definitely,
it's a nice work. Yes, I thought it was resembling your work, so that was interesting.
I reference it a lot.
Yeah, no, but you know, artists are artists, so it's great to do that. And is there anybody that you'd like to collaborate with in the next future? Because you mentioned a lot about collaborating and wanting to, you know, create with others. Can you give us any spoilers on who you like to collaborate with?
Honestly, I really like to work and kind of like test my own ideas on my own, but I imagine like in a few months, or man, crypto time, it's like way faster. So I want to say like a few years, but I know in reality it'll be like crypto time. It's going to be a couple months. But yeah, I want to get to the point where I can be selling my work as NFTs, but be working with people and like be hiring people who are working as professionals in a separate industry. So like maybe hiring a videographer and a photographer and like producing my own shoots and kind of like directing and editing. And because I'm not a videographer, like I said, I shoot on my iPhone. So I imagine like hiring somebody to do that professionally would definitely help. So I think being able to get a different perspective, especially for crypto art, and work with people like locally in real life, that would really be unique, I think, for the crypto scene, because there are a lot of opportunities to collaborate digitally. It's so, I don't want to say easy, but it's like accessible now. So, you know, putting on a large production for an NFT, that's like not really something super common yet. And I hope I can eventually get an opportunity to do that.
That'll be awesome. And I'm
Yeah.
definitely going to wait for that day and see that work coming to life.
Yeah, I hope.
Yes, I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. And we'll be waiting to see it. Sam, it's been a pleasure talking to you tonight. And thank you to everyone watching, asking questions, and be there present. It's, we send you a lot of love. And thank you to KnownOrigin and MoCDA for putting this together. And thank to you, Sam, for being here tonight and talk about your work. It's been such a wonderful chat.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, everybody, and have a good night. See you again soon on Behind the Screens. Bye, Sam.
Bye.